honestly, Frank Reich, come on, man. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I think he should have been fired last year. Honestly, after they lost to the worst team in the NFL, you lost to the Jaguars in Jacksonville. Are you kidding me? Now they have one of the most pathetic, most boring offenses. Puts me to sleep every time I watch them play. You have one of the best running backs in the NFL. You have Michael Pittman, he's a good receiver. Michael Pittman's a good receiver. And you traded for Matt Ryan after you've also traded for Carson Wentz. You took Phillip Rivers out of retirement. You got Jacoby Brissett. You got a bunch of quarterbacks. It's a carousel. It's a disaster. But keep in mind that also Frank Reich was their second option because they wanted Josh McDaniels. Remember that. That's a real thing.
What?
Remember when they hired Josh McDaniels?
Right. And then McDaniels backed out. Yeah.
He backed out. They picked up Frank Reich. Frank Reich, I'm sorry, but your team has been completely average. You don't have an average team. Your team has depth. You have a good offensive line. You have a good players on defense. You have an awesome running back. You have Michael Pittman. So your team realistically should be good. And the fact that you guys are last in your division, outside of the Texans, because the Texans are, the Texans. What is wrong with you?
The Texans don't count, though. I mean, they don't count.
The Texans don't count.
They're expected to be the last team, but
you're last behind the Jaguars?
I mean, I feel like the Colts always have a top roster. They always have a top 10 roster. I feel like their defense is always loaded with players.
They do.
Everywhere. And they always underperform, and that's on the head coach. Also, my first full time watching Hard Knocks was this year. And it's not for lack of try. It's just I tried watching the end season one with the Colts last year. Oh my God.
Painfully boring.
It was so boring. It was Frank Reich. I really think we have a good team. We have a chance to win this year. I have a lot of faith in you guys. I'm so proud of you. I'm just it was so boring. And then Dan Campbell this year is just charismatic as fuck. And it's just Frank Reich, it's you had Sirianni on the staff. That was your best year. The year you made the playoffs and faced the Bills with Phillip Rivers was the year Nick Sirianni was the offensive coordinator. Since then, you haven't been back to the playoffs. Coincidence? No, I don't think so. The year the Chargers got to the playoffs with Phillip Rivers, Sirianni was on the staff as the offensive coordinator for the Chargers. Coincidence? I think not. He was my coach of the year for the first quarter. So I think that's really interesting. Nathaniel Hackett is someone we've talked about.
Yeah. I got to pick a coach of the year. I got to get someone in the hot seat too, bud.
Oh, okay. I thought I picked Frank. Oh, you didn't pick Frank Reich. Okay.
Okay. Well, we're going to stick in the AFC West because Chargers, fire Brandon Staley. We've tried with Brandon Staley.
What?
We've tried with Brandon Staley. He went for it a lot last year. A lot. He went for it most. He went for it more than double than the second team last year. We liked it. We're we like the aggressiveness because they had Anthony Lynn. Well, guess what? Brandon Staley also sucks. You have Justin Herbert, who is one of the best talents that we have in this league, and you're letting him rot behind Brandon Staley. Brandon Staley, your defense, which is supposed to be your specialty, sorry, you're not the Sean McVay of defense. You're not even the Sean McVay of wearing button-ups. You're nothing. You're not Sean McVay at all. Shouldn't even be in the same sentence as Sean McVay. Chargers, if I were you, I would fire Brandon Staley. And I don't know, here's an idea. For a guy that has one of the best quarterbacks in the league, maybe hire a coach that's offensive-minded. And my sneaking suspicion that it's going to be Eric Bieniemy, I just feel like it makes a lot of sense for some reason. Offensive-minded, I think that's where the Chargers should go. Brandon Staley, get him out of there.
Yeah, I got no qualms. I thought last year, I was debating with my friend, and he's like, understand, man. Just because Brandon Staley does things differently doesn't mean he's a bad coach. I'm like, no, Brandon Staley's specialty is not offense. And your offense is what's really good. And there's one reason for that. That's Justin Herbert. Your specialty is defense. Your job is to come and hey, can we get some stops for Herb? I don't know, stop the run. secondary, and then like, all right, let me go out and get JC Jackson, who's a Patriots corner who's never played in another team in the NFL, who got most of his interceptions from tip passes. Good awareness on you, but it's like, did I have faith in JC Jackson to be a lockdown corner? No way in hell. And then he gets hurt this year. So that's a bust for you. And he was also getting burned. He was getting burned because Brandon Staley's idea, like, oh, I paid you a ton of money. I'm just going to put you on an island and not actually scheme like Bill Belichick does. Like, no. Like, Bill Belichick elevates corners for scheme. We saw it with Brandon Browner, who's like a pretty good corner, made him look elite stopper. And then I'm like, Khalil Mack, that's your answer on defense? He's played well. In spots.
Khalil Mack's played great.
But he's not the difference maker a lot of people made him out to be. I'm like, Khalil Mack's not going to stop your run stopping problem.
He's been effective for him. They've played well. Like, Khalil Mack, I mean, he's got like 5 or 6 sacks.
Yeah. But like, no, like sacks, I get. But your problem is not rushing the passer. Your problem is stopping the run. And I don't think Khalil Mack's going to solve that for you.
Yeah, I mean, they also got after, like, they got Sebastian Joseph Day.
Yeah.
Well. But, I mean, if we're talking about the Chargers, they also gave up a massive run against Dameon Pierce, which Dameon Pierce is good. Don't get me wrong. But, like, I don't know. Chargers, get him out of there.
Get him out of there. So, enough about Brandon Staley. I got one more. And we talked about him last episode, but John Harbaugh. Bro, what are you doing? You set a record in a bad way in 4 games for a total season. Set 2 17-point leads or more. One of them was a 21-point lead at home. Blown away. Vamoose. Gone. You think, I don't know. I was like, wait, you'd think like, yeah, maybe a bad franchise would do that. I'm like, oh, wait. No, you have to get the lead first to blow it. So I'm like, oh, okay. So you can get the lead and then you just flat out are blowing them. And then Lamar, his first time in the playoffs, looks completely unprepared against the Titans. And then you get completely outcoached by Sean McDermott. The second time, you get your revenge versus the Titans. Then you lose to the Bills. Poorly played game. And then you're down. You're up 21-7 or 28-7 against the Dolphins at home. And he's like, you know, it would be a great idea when I have the fastest duo in the league. You know, it would be great. I'm going to send my corner on a blitz. Like, what? No, you need him back there because the only thing they're going to be doing is throw the ball down the field because Tua's like, yeah, all right, Tyreek and Jalen are down there somewhere. It's like, yeah, it's a lot easier to get them the ball when you're sending Patrick Queen on a blitz instead of having him back there to cover the fastest duo in the league. It's like, if you give either of those guys a flicker and they get in a rhythm, it's like, no. And then you go for it on 4th and goal. Dude, take the lead. You hadn't scored since the 3-minute mark in the second quarter. And that's being generous because it was like the 4-minute mark. And it was 20-3. And you hadn't scored, but you think you can convert a 4th and goal 7 yards out of the end zone? What are you doing?
I agree. I think it's time for a change. He's been on the
hot seat.
He's been on the Baltimore Ravens for, what is that, 2008? So
2008, 14
years, almost 15 years as a head coach.
That's too long. Unless you're Belichick, it's like, that's too long. Even Andy Reid left the Eagles.
Yeah. And, you know, Mike Tomlin has had more success than I think John Harbaugh has as well. But my other team on the hot seat, I don't think this is a hot take. Apparently we're staying all in the AFC. Nathaniel Hackett, obviously. I mean, Nathaniel Hackett is a clown. He's a buffoon. I mean, what is there to be said?
Enough said about that. Pick one more.
Okay, yeah. These are obvious. I mean, we get the Nathaniel Hackett's of the world. We got like
Matt Rule. That's obvious. Like,
we're gonna
obviously
pick
Matt Rule.
How about Cliff Kingsbury? Cliff Kingsbury. Because what have you done? You haven't done anything. I mean, this is all that the Cardinals have done. This is them getting really hot at the beginning of the season, which so far hasn't happened. And then fading off, like, not just fading off, but I mean, like,
falling off a cliff.
Going from the best team in the league to, like, how do they make the playoffs? They played like shit. I mean, They were 7-0 last year, and they didn't win the division. They finished 10-7. telling me you went 3-7 to end the season? Couldn't like, and I understand, like, you got the Rams and the 49ers in the division. Like, I totally get, like, like realistically, like you say on paper, like, oh yeah, they have these two guys in the division. They should, it's going to be competitive. But like, you were 7-0. You were 7-0, and not only that, Kyler Murray gets hurt, which you're like, okay, well maybe that's why. Nope, you won games with Colt McCoy. Colt McCoy went 2-1. So like, what happened? What happened? So honestly, Cliff Kingsbury, get him out of there.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's our hot seat picks, and we're not picking the generic picks like teams that suck that are going to obviously get rid of their head coach. These are coaches that like they should be on the hot seat because they've underperformed, some of them for multiple years.